Hello and good morning from the Freedom of Information and Privacy Association. I'm Patrick Farnsworth, and this is your Access and Privacy Online News Summary for Saturday, March 7th. It's been a busy week across the privacy and transparency landscape and here at FIPA. In British Columbia, the provincial government has introduced Bill 9, a set of amendments to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act that critics say could weaken public access to government records. At the federal level, Bill C4 Part 4, the controversial proposal to shield federal political parties from privacy law oversight, is returning to the House of Commons after the Senate added a 3-year sunset clause intended to force Parliament to adopt real privacy protections. Meanwhile, Meta's AI smart glasses are already raising serious privacy concerns as reports emerge of users secretly recording people in vulnerable situations. This week also saw major conversations about artificial intelligence governance as FIPA joined experts and policymakers at the 28th Annual Victoria International Privacy and Security Summit, while our civil society network continues work on Canada's People's Consultation on AI. We'll also look at how access to information requests continue to expose accountability gaps, from government communications around EV rebates to whistleblower reports on workplace abuse and public health risks. And we'll close with a difficult but important conversation about the tension between children's privacy rights and parental authority, a debate now unfolding across Canada and the United States. Let's dive in. We start this week with a FIPA hot take, prompted by a story that is likely to grow much bigger in the weeks ahead. In a situation creating headlines, but surprisingly few of them, TechCrunch highlights Meta's new AI-enabled smart glasses are raising serious privacy concerns. A class action lawsuit is filed in the United States, alleging that human reviewers access footage captured by the devices, including recordings of nudity and intimate situations. The glasses, marketed through brands like Ray-Ban and Oakley, allow users to capture videos and images from their point of view, often without people nearby realizing they're being recorded. Complaints from Vancouver are already surfacing online from people who believe the devices are being used in predatory or inappropriate ways, particularly in public spaces. This isn't the first time wearable cameras have sparked controversy. Many listeners may remember the backlash against Google Glass a decade ago. But the difference today is that these devices are now connected to AI services and massive data ecosystems, raising deeper questions about how the footage is analyzed, stored, and shared. As we consider the complaints about to be filed to the Office of the Privacy Commissioner, it is important to recognize that multiple actors may ultimately bear responsibility in the complaint. The technology company is Meta. The associated brands are Ray-Ban and Oakley, which are owned by EssilorLuxottica. Plus, if you, like us, might be going to your local optometrist office, a simple question you could ask is if and how their professional liability insurance covers the potential impact of selling a product that could be subject to class action lawsuits of this nature. If you encounter concerns about the misuse of these devices in British Columbia, be sure to file a complaint with the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner. We've included links in the show notes to all these actors, and we'll be monitoring this as it progresses. Turning now to updates from FIPA. This week, former FIPA Executive Director Vincent Gogolek published a timely analysis examining the privacy risks associated with the growing number of connected electric vehicles entering the Canadian market. Some politicians have warned that Chinese-built EVs could act as spy cars. But Gogolek argues that the bigger issue is that all modern vehicles are increasingly surveillance platforms, collecting vast amounts of driver data through onboard sensors, cameras, and connected services. Studies have already found that many automakers collect extensive personal information, and in some cases have even sold that data to third-party analytics companies. In short, the problem isn't just where the car is made, it's the absence of meaningful privacy regulation for connected vehicles. Meanwhile, here in British Columbia, the government has introduced Bill 9, amendments to the province's Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. FIPA has raised serious concerns about the bill, particularly provisions that could give public bodies greater discretion to decide whether requests contain enough detail or whether responding would interfere with government operations. Multiple critics warn those changes could make it easier for public bodies to delay or refuse access requests, at a time when the province has struggled to fully implement its own Information Management Act and all public bodies see a reduction in trust. We look forward to further debate and questions on this bill as it progresses through the BC Parliament. Also, this past week, FIPA was excited and pleased to participate in the 28th Annual Victoria International Privacy and Security Summit, or VIPS. The theme this year was Trust, Transparency, and Transformation, Governing Artificial Intelligence. FIPA Executive Director Jason Waiwata moderated a panel examining children's privacy and safety in emerging digital policy frameworks, alongside experts from the University of Calgary and Canada's privacy regulators in BC and Ontario. The summit brought together policymakers, academics, and industry leaders to examine one of the defining governance challenges of our time: how societies regulate artificial intelligence while protecting fundamental rights. It was a great conference with some incredible keynotes, including Cory Doctorow speaking about Canadian data sovereignty and the enshittification of services. It was great to meet with privacy and cybersecurity experts, young and old, from across Canada. FIPA was happy to attend, participate, and hopefully contribute. We'll hopefully be bringing you more on this in the weeks ahead. Turning now to updates from our network. We begin with the People's Consultation on Artificial Intelligence, a nationwide civil society initiative collecting public input on the future of AI governance in Canada. Community consultations have been taking place across the country, including Montreal, Vancouver, and Toronto, with workshops, roundtables, and public meetings gathering input ahead of the March 15th submission deadline. FIPA was promoting these events through the week at VIPS and is preparing its own submission to the consultation. Next, the International Civil Liberties Monitoring Group is raising urgent concerns following a new independent review of Canada's no-fly list regime. The report found serious administrative failures, including cases where individuals remained on the list despite recommendations for removal, and instances where the legally required 90-day reviews were not conducted. Civil liberties advocates warn the findings reinforce long-standing concerns about secret watch lists, lack of transparency, and risks to charter rights. And finally, FIPA wants to join in congratulating Tim McSorley, National Coordinator of the ICLMG Coalition, who this week received the Community Partner Award from the Canadian Muslim Public Affairs Council. The award recognizes McSorley's work defending civil liberties and addressing systemic discrimination in national security policies. Turning now to the evolving situation around Bill C-4 Part 4, which is returning to the House of Commons after debate in the Senate. The Senate passed the bill with an amendment adding a 3-year sunset clause to the controversial provisions governing political party data practices. Regulators, experts, and civil society, including FIPA, have warned that the legislation would effectively grant political parties a blank check to collect and use personal information with minimal oversight and no enforceable rights for Canadians to access or correct their data. During committee hearings, privacy experts warned that data-driven political campaigning could involve thousands of data points being collected on individual voters, a practice already seen in other jurisdictions. FIPA has been working with organizations including the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, Open Media, and the Centre for Digital Rights to have amendments made and urging MPs to accept the Senate's compromise as a temporary solution. Meanwhile, we've submitted a House of Commons e-petition calling on Parliament to ensure that federal political parties are subject to meaningful privacy obligations before the next election. If you'd like to learn more or add your name, links are included in this week's show notes. Turning now to stories driven by access to information requests and whistleblower reporting across Canada. Staying in British Columbia, local journalism initiative reporter Isaac Fanay at the Tyee reports that contract workers at Simon Fraser University say years of complaints about workplace bullying and harassment have gone largely unresolved. Documents obtained through Freedom of Information requests show that WorkSafe BC inspectors repeatedly warned the university's cleaning contractor about inadequate anti-bullying policies. Despite those warnings, workers say abusive management practices and poor working conditions persist, renewing calls for the university to bring cleaning and food service staff back in-house. Some workers attribute a language barrier as a reason for poor relationships with bosses. Early in the pandemic, in 2022, the university committed to being a living wage employer, aiming to ensure all staff earned a wage that covered basic living expenses. Contracted staff, according to the SFU website, are expected to reach living wages through contract negotiations. Meanwhile, in Ottawa, a new OECD report is warning that persistent delays in appointing Canada's Parliamentary Budget Officer, or PBO, could threaten the independence and stability of the office. The OECD praised the PBO as one of the strongest fiscal oversight institutions among its member states, but warned that relying on interim leadership risks undermining its ability to provide independent financial analysis to Parliament. Interim PBO Jason Jacques said the office is long overdue for an external evaluation, and that he has commissioned the OECD report on the first day of his mandate in September. The OECD report gave a largely glowing review to Canada's PBO, which it called a nonpartisan, credible, and effective office that boosts fiscal transparency in federal government. And finally, documents obtained under access to information laws suggest federal officials knew months in advance that funding for Canada's electric vehicle rebate program was about to run out. But the public was not informed until just days before the program abruptly shut down, leaving dealerships and consumers scrambling. The documents also show officials were seemingly caught off guard by how quickly the funds did, in the end, dry up. The sudden pausing of the program left dealerships on the hook for millions of dollars in outstanding claims, though the government would rectify this months later, and left customers with the impression the rebates would return. The rebates ran between 2019 and 2025, and generally offered between $2,500 and $5,000 off the purchase price of a new plug-in hybrid or fully electric vehicle, with a maximum sale price of about $55,000. Turning now to other privacy-related stories across Canada. In Manitoba, police are marking Fraud Prevention Month with a new campaign aimed at helping Canadians recognize online scams. Authorities say $31 million was reported lost to fraud in the province last year, and the real number may be much higher, since only about 1 in 5 victims reports the crime. Many of the most sophisticated scams now rely on personal information harvested from social media and data breaches, including voice cloning technology used in so-called grandparent scams. The goal with these scams is always to obtain money through the use of fear, secrecy, and a deep sense of urgency. In 2024, almost $350,000 was reported lost by Manitobans over the age of 60 to these scams involving voice cloning technology. The RCMP would like to remind people not to click on links or attachments in unsolicited emails or texts, or those that come from an unfamiliar sender. Meanwhile, privacy issues are also appearing in debates around healthcare and social policy. Families across Canada say privacy laws sometimes prevent them from sharing information with doctors when loved ones experience severe mental health crises, leaving parents feeling powerless to intervene until situations escalate. One mother in Nova Scotia had a son who died by suicide, but due to privacy laws, she was told she couldn't request treatment for her son in the years leading up to his death. Even the mental health clinic said the same thing. Her son had to call himself. The latest data from the Canadian Institute for Health Information shows only half of Canadians who were referred to mental health counseling received care within 30 days of referral. Experts say this leads to patients deteriorating as a result, landing back in the hospital repeatedly with nothing to stop the vicious cycle. And finally, advocates warn that sex workers are often the first to experience the impacts of expanding digital surveillance, including biometric identification requirements on online platforms. Researchers say the technologies used to track and verify users in those spaces often become testbeds for wider surveillance tools, later deployed across the internet. Many sex workers have seen a decline in privacy rights even before so-called civilians, that's how they refer to non-sex workers, have realized the overreach from social media companies is happening. Some sex workers have attributed the passing of SISTA/FOSTA in the States as the start of the decline of privacy rights for the profession. This caused the main page for sex work to be shut down and caused an increase in censorship on many other websites. And now to international stories. Reports this week indicate the United States has instructed diplomats to actively oppose foreign data sovereignty laws, including policies requiring companies to store personal information within national borders. The move targets regulations similar to Europe's General Data Protection Regulation, which U.S. officials say could restrict artificial intelligence services and global data flows. They also said it could increase cost and cybersecurity risks and expand government control in a way that would undermine civil liberties and allow censorship. Observers say the directive signals that future privacy legislation, including in Canada, may face increasing pressure from Washington. It also signals an interest from the states in increasing their foreign interference operations. This was definitely one of the visible components playing out at FIPS this week as the sector met to discuss the issues of the day. Meanwhile, in Europe, Swedish authorities say they intercepted a Russian drone operating near a French aircraft carrier participating in NATO exercises. A Kremlin spokesperson denied knowledge of the incident and said it's absurd to claim that the drone was Russian just because a Russian ship was nearby. Western officials say Russia is masterminding a campaign of sabotage and disruption across Europe. An Associated Press database has documented well over 100 incidents. And in the United States, investigations continue into conditions at a Texas immigration detention center where families report children being held for extended periods in overcrowded conditions with limited access to medical care. According to the investigation, the government is holding many children well beyond the 20-day limit set by long-standing court order. On top of that, a 1-year-old was diagnosed with COVID, bronchitis, pneumonia, and a stomach virus after ICE officials told the mother it was just a virus, then later claimed the baby immediately received proper medical care. And wrapping up this week is a new story echoing ongoing issues and a difficult conversation about the balance between children's privacy rights and parental authority. The issue definitely came into sharper relief at VIPS, where FIPA Executive Director Jason Waiwata moderated a panel on emerging policy frameworks for protecting children online and was highlighted in the following stories. Alberta introduced changes to its privacy laws in 2024 and shifted emphasis away from the rights of the child to parental rights. Previously, laws only allowed parents to access their child's online personal health information under the age of 12. Flash forward to 2026, and doctors in Alberta are warning that the new provincial rules allowing parents access to teenagers' medical records up to the age of 18 could discourage young people from seeking treatment for sensitive issues such as contraception or mental health. The changes have been applied to the province's health portal, My Health Records, which allows access to information such as lab results, prescriptions, and even appointment summaries. At the time the changes were introduced, a comparison was drawn to the dynamics playing out in the United States. This week, the U.S. Supreme Court has continued to allow schools to notify parents when students identify as transgender, a ruling that highlights that tension between student privacy and parental rights. The order blocks for now a state law that bans automatic parental notification requirements if students change their pronouns or gender expression at school. The split decision comes after religious parents and educators challenged California school policies aimed at preventing schools from outing students to their families. Across jurisdictions, policymakers are grappling with the same question: how to respect family involvement while ensuring young people can safely access care and support, and what truly is in the best interests of the child. It's a debate with no easy answers that requires open discussion, recognizing the nuance, one that will continue to influence privacy discussion for years to come. As always, we hope today's stories helped you stay informed about the forces shaping privacy, transparency, and accountability. To support this work, please subscribe through FIPA News Monitoring or consider making a donation. Our writer is Sean Fisk. Music is by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. I'm Patrick Farnsworth. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and stay informed.